there. Did you ever feel it's the little things which somehow throw your life into a tailspin before you realize it? Take one little thing like a high school senior, or to pinpoint it, me, there in the coral sweater, an open-toed expression. Then little thing number 2, Jimmy Cushman, a classmate. Little thing number 3 is that bird brain and the shot rod, giving all us high school kids a bad name. That night, when Jimmy phoned to invite me to a movie, what he didn't know was that my father had seen another little thing in the evening paper, and because of it, told me I couldn't go out nights in any of the kids' cars. And you know what that meant. No dates until he changed his mind. Poor me. But the worst thing was what our school principal was threatening to do. Mr. Potter had announced if he had one more complaint about the kids driving, he'd be forced to do what other schools had done. Lock all cars in the school parking lot till after school every day. Well, we couldn't do anything right away because next day, Dad took me to Sacramento. And while he worked, I did some sightseeing. Still worried about Mr. Potter's warning until suddenly I spotted a sharp-looking sports job with a sign on it, which said something about a safety economy run. Naturally, I didn't know what that was, but I knew what the Flying Red Horse stands for. So, later that afternoon, when I bought a local paper and read that the runs were for high schools, I took off for the nearest phone booth, called the oil company, and asked if someone would explain a safety economy run to me. They connected me with Mr. Burton, Ray Burton, up from San Francisco to supervise the run. He said, even though he was about to leave, if I'd come right over, he'd explain it all to me. And was I ever glad I took him up.
Start with, Miss King, we don't put on the runs. You youngsters do it all yourselves. All we do, with a lot of help from 3As and peace officer groups, like the Highway Patrol here in our state, is to show you how to organize a run, then you go ahead and do it.
Oh, but who wins these runs? The driver with the best mileage?
No, although mileage is very important, but these are also safety tests. That's why we donate trophies and the gasoline that's used.
Well, how in the world do you figure the scores?
You get your run organized first. When you're ready, we'll be around to explain it and give you the official observer's report forms. You know, each car carries an adult observer.
Well, with an adult in the car, like a chaperone, it doesn't sound very exciting.
Tell you what, I've got some color movies of runs they've held around the country. If you have the time, I'd love to show them to you.
Well, I've got lots of time.
Good.
I was surprised to see how many schools everywhere had entered past safety economy runs, and how all the faculties pitch in and help. Imagine, just as in the big economy run, all cars are weighed. So, with the 10-mile scoring system, cars of all kinds compete on an equal basis. Now there's a sight, Seattle's floating bridge over Lake Washington. In Portland, a girl walked off with first-place honors. And here at Bakersfield, an engine is being given a last-minute performance check. And not only are the cars weighed, but the passengers are too. Under their scoring system, every last ounce counts. Well, no wonder Bakersfield had all those high-priced cars entered. This country looks richer than Texas. How about that flying red carpet? Bakersfield to Inglewood in 2 seconds flat. And at the end of the run, the time is checked to make certain no car just crawls along to save a few drops of gas. Well, we whiz north again, where you can see how the cars are started at 1-minute intervals. Look at those steaks, supplied by the sponsoring service clubs and served free to all attending the victory luncheon after the run, where they announce the scores and award the trophies. I was sold, and I knew Peninsula High could do the same thing and show our parents, Mr. Potter and the neighbors, that high school kids are good drivers. Mr. Burton invited me to see the Sacramento run next morning. Excitement? Believe me, it was as exciting as a football game. I guess I heard about and saw most everything there. The gasoline and oil are provided by the Mobilgas people. And the safety checks, to make sure all cars are in top condition, as well as covered by insurance, are continued until the last car is started. Then, numbered stickers are pasted on, and the cars rolled into the street to line up for the start. At 9 o'clock sharp, the first car is sent off, and the next car is rolled up, in turn, to the starting line. There, the assistant starter tolls off the seconds until the next minute is up. And when they had all left, I went with Mr. Burton to drive around the 96-mile course. It was a real kick for me. But most of all, I couldn't wait to get back to San Francisco to see what I could do about whipping up some enthusiasm for a safety economy run of our own. And Monday, after school, I hauled Jimmy over to our favorite malt shop to get started. Not only did I have Jimmy to try to sell, I had to compete with a jukebox and some music with a beat. Look, how many kids in school have cars? 300?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Well, then out of that 300, how many got the rest of us into this jam?
Gee, there couldn't be more than 6 or 8 of those yo-yos shoving around shot rods, making like they're real big men, could there?
That's what I mean. So if you were Mr. Potter...
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, if you were, and a lot of our bunch entered the run and got really good scores, wouldn't you think we're not all goof-offs like Ronnie and Tay and their gang that digs out every time they get into a car?
Well, yeah. But if you can convince your father of that, then I'm with you.
Good. Then let's start making a list of... Uh-oh. Okay, you're vice president of student council. Get to work, because here comes Flash Gordon himself.
Hi, Tay.
Well, what's new and funny, my little bunny?
Tay, listen a minute.
Minute? Man, do you realize in a minute I can go from a standing start to 130 in that little old bomb of mine? Minute.
Tay, we're planning on putting on one of those safety economy runs here at school. Will you and your gang enter if we...
Me? Economy? Of course you're kidding.
The heck we are. It was you and that lead-foot crowd of yours that got us in all this Dutch with Mr. Potter.
Sonny boy, I admit I voted for you for council, but when it comes to cars, you better leave it to the men around here. So get lost, Willie. You're acting mighty silly.
Well, what do you do with a character like that?
Beat his brains out if he had any. But after listening to him, I'm sure you're right, Sharon.
Then you'll help get the show on the road?
If it'll help cut down that squeak, send me in, Coach. Hey, Sharon, I got a whole committee.
Oh, sure. After twisting my arm.
And my wrist.
Not me. I just came along because I think boys are fun.
This is a run for automobiles, not boys, you know.
Who's running? I just take my trusty shotgun and bang. But if I ever hit one, the game warden usually makes me throw him back in because he's too young.
Okay, cut the clowning. Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting of the board of directors is called to order. With Jimmy only reluctantly agreeing to help, the work began. First, to auto shop to see the instructor, Mr. McCutcheon, and ask if he'd head up the faculty end. He said he would if Mr. Potter agreed. Mr. Potter? He was the principal who was threatening to lock up all the kids' cars. Well, seeing we needed some assistance, we called Mr. Burton, who had returned to his San Francisco office, and he agreed to talk to our principal. After all the trouble Mr. Potter had had because of the few kids like Tay, who make a racetrack of the streets, it's no wonder he didn't take to the request at first. But after Mr. Burton gave him a few facts and figures, he said okay, and gave his permission for Mr. Burton, highway patrol officers, and me to address an assembly. Get me, a big shot, a public speaker yet. Next day, to get sign-ups, I guess Jimmy and I answered almost every kind of question. Like, a run is usually over a course of about 100 miles, which we'll lay out with the 3As and the highway patrol. That any student with a valid driver's license may enter, driving any standard type of car. And that to make it a test of good driving habits, observers go along and give penalties of 1/10 of a gallon for each infraction of a traffic law, if any. Jimmy and I did fine. 24 kids signed up the first day, and we were real proud as we went to the malt shop to meet Mr. Burton. He thought we'd done a bang-up job. In fact, he teased us. Maybe he'd give us a job. Selling gas and oil, door to door. Big joke. But then, when he heard we hadn't gotten any other schools in, he warned us that in a city this size, with only one school entered, the run could be a flop. Having seen our sad sack faces, next day, Mr. Burton was waiting for us in front of school. He had news for us. The company had agreed to award another trophy to help get other schools in. A sweepstakes trophy to be awarded to the school getting the best team score. Were we ever thrilled? With the old school spirit working for us, it would be a cinch. Next day, we told Mr. McCutcheon our good news, but found he'd already gotten 4 other schools to enter. And then he told us we were the ones who'd have to make talks to the service clubs to ask if they would provide the observers we'd need and the victory luncheon. Jimmy threw in the sponge, and I threw the book at James. If Mr. McCutcheon hadn't calmed us down, Jimmy and I still wouldn't be talking. But then we got more help from Mr. Burton. He went to the 3As, saw Mr. Moore, and they agreed they'd both help us get speaking dates, which they did. We both went over like a house afire, until I called on the chairman of another club to ask if I could address his next meeting. And, well, that's just about it, Mr. Scott. So if you'll put me on as a speaker at your next luncheon meeting, I promise I'll tell all about the run in 3 minutes flat.
No, I'm sorry, Miss King. Our club isn't interested in races or competitions of any kind where youngsters your age risk their necks in cars.
But it's not a race, it's...
You did say that the cars had to be back in a specified time, didn't you?
Well, naturally. Otherwise you could crawl along.
Exactly. Young lady, you're just wasting your time. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about using my influence to see that your entire project is canceled.
That's your privilege, Mr. Scott. But I've been driving for 2 years now, and I've never had a tip, not even for parking. And not one of my vendors has a scratch on it. May I ask what your record has been for the past 2 years?
Well, that's really not here nor there, and rather than appear obdurate about it, the meeting's at noon tomorrow in the Pine Room.
Okay, Sharon, shoot.
Now, check the cafeteria to make sure all the arrangements are complete for the victory luncheon.
Okay, I'll take care of that.
And he says we have to send out at least twice as many press releases as we did before.
Check. What else?
I don't know who'll do this. Try to get interviewed on TV.
Well, that's your job, Maureen. You got what it takes for that kind of stuff.
Oh, no, you don't. What are you trying to do, bring radio back again?
Oh, cut it out. You're a real movie star.
Oh, here's one more thing we all can do. Mr. Burton says to try to get lists from all the service clubs with names and phone numbers of every man who's volunteered to be an official or an observer.
Well, okay, but I don't get it.
To call them up Friday and remind them we expect them out Saturday morning. Mr. Burton says if it's a nice warm day, some might just happen to recall a previous golf date.
Well, 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 if it isn't the Indianapolis Race Committee as I live and breathe.
Well, okay, Mr. Hotshot. If you're such an 8-cylinder wizard, why isn't your entry in here?
Are you kidding? Get up at the crack of dawn and play some silly baby game? Count me out, little sprout.
What is it with you, Tay? Chicken? Afraid some of us will show you up?
Show me up. That'd be the day.
That'd be the day I'd like to see.
And you know what, Tay? I bet even I can beat you.
Put your money where your mouth is.
You are chicken, aren't you?
Don't be silly, Lily. I wouldn't race against a girl.
And don't be stupid, Rupert. It's not a race, it's competition. And besides, I'm not even sure that shot rod of yours could pass a safety check.
Shot rod? Okay, you asked for it. What's the bet? And I'll even give you odds.
That won't be necessary. Tell you what, whoever loses takes the rest of us to the movie Saturday night.
And how will we get to the show? Or has your father become big-hearted and changed his mind?
I didn't mean to the drive-in. We can all go down to the park side. I want to see what they're playing anyhow. Well, Tay, is it a bet or is it a bet?
Oh, okay, but you wait and see. I'll cream the whole bunch of you.
Just sign here, milkman, and we'll see if it'll be cream or just a large dose of skim milk. Safety checks start tomorrow. We were getting closer, and the auto shop volunteer crews work like maniacs checking cars. Maniacs is right, too, for who else would have passed Tay's car as being safe? I guess they checked the car, not the driver. But where there were boys, there was Sally, clowning as usual and doing anything to make Tay realize she was alive. Tay didn't think it was funny. And Mike, with his father's brand new hardtop, he didn't think it was funny either when they told him the car couldn't be okayed because the front wheels were out of line. Poor Mike, having to tell his dad 2 high school kids had rejected his shiny new car as unsafe. His father took to the notion like a duck to a load of buckshot. Next morning, school had hardly opened when Mike's father was there, chewing out Mr. McCutcheon as if it had been his fault. But Mr. McCutcheon explained that's what auto shop and driver ed courses are for. Mike's father went for that in a big way. He told Mr. McCutcheon he would have his wheels aligned and let Mike enter. But it wasn't all work at school. Maureen, for instance, went out with the run supervisors for a final check on the course they had laid out. And what a course! 100 miles through city, freeways, country, and, this being San Francisco, of course, across the Golden Gate Bridge into Marin County. It was all so beautiful, we prayed it wouldn't rain the day of the run. Little did we know, poor innocents. Now the whole school helped. Journalism classes wrote all publicity we needed. Art classes designed the posters. And the print shop turned itself inside out doing the car placards. I even typed dozens of envelopes to the local newspapers. And Maureen was interviewed on TV, as Jimmy was on radio. The last big chore was weighing in the cars that were entered, because the weight of the cars and the occupants is used in figuring the final score. Saturday morning, the day of the run, I was out of the house by 6. And so were lots of others who jammed the station we were to start from, where the observers got their final instructions. They asked a lot of questions about how to score penalties for any infractions. The Ham Radio Club was checking with their mobile stations along the course. Placards were put on all cars entered, and so were strips of luminous paper to make it easier to pick out our run cars. Gas tanks were filled to the very brim, for free at that, and attendants marked the filler pipes so they could be refilled when the run was over to determine the exact amount of gas used. And then, for the first time, I noticed the weather. Gosh, if it rained now, how could we complete the course in 2 hours and 40 minutes? Mike was there, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and the law was there, too. Each car had a numbered sticker put on, and I do number 45. Then Mr. Burton came up to introduce me to my observer, Mr. Samuelson, and told us we'd better weigh in and have the total entered into our official report. Our clowning Rover girl was getting her kicks, too. As a rib, she told Tay his observer was the vice principal. He just about died. But then Sally got his official observer, Freddie Agabashian, one of the country's top racing drivers. And was Tay thrilled. Now we'd have a chance to show a professional how good he was. 9 o'clock, and Maureen, the official timer, marked off the seconds for the first car to start. The weather looked worse, but this was it, and our chance to prove a lot of things to a lot of people. Jimmy, cagey character, made a real smooth start, maybe because the starter was a well-known judge. Starting time, as it must to all men, came for Tay Stevens. Whoops, bet he lost a couple of gallons right there. Then at 10 minutes to 10 came my turn, and my heart a pounding lump in my throat. I was off and running. Making sure we flashed our turn indicators, we rolled up onto Bayshore Highway, and I saw the weather was getting even worse. But with the traffic and having to watch the speedometer and all the other things I had to do, I didn't have much time to worry. Of course, Tay, who knew he could drive better than anyone, sailed along blithely, not watching anything, like that 35-mile zone sign. And he never did argue Mr. Agabation out of that penalty or the other infractions he piled up. And then it hit us. Golly, rain. We all had to reduce our speed. We had lost so much time that when the rain stopped, it was a temptation to really tromp on those gas pedals. Now that we had been through overcast and rain, we ran into our next obstacle in trying to maintain the top legal speed. Fog. Good old fog to make us slow down again. But then, as it always does around our wonderful town, the fog washed away, and there, under the brilliant sunshine, was San Francisco itself. There were the little cable cars for which we are famous, clanging and bouncing along. There were the familiar steep hills. And before we knew it, we were into San Francisco's Chinatown. Believe me, there was little we missed on our 100-mile tour. Even the much-pictured Bay Bridge in the background, and the Embarcadero, with its tantalizing smells of spices and distant seas, and its 25-mile zone signs to slow us down again, just when the weather was better and time getting shorter and shorter. How about that? Glad I was down below and not swaying up there on the cables, despite the beauty of our renowned Golden Gate Bridge. And with the bridge not too crowded this Saturday morning, we were feeling better now about finishing the run on time. Down on the bridge itself, our cars rolled along. Later, we heard how deep an impression the skill of the teenage drivers had made on the adult observers, who all said the same thing once the run was over. Never in their lives had they had such legal rides. But I'm ahead of myself, because the run wasn't over yet. Thanks to the rain and fog we'd been through, time was getting shorter and shorter. Then, as we started on our last lap of the figure-8 course, we still had almost 15 miles left. Then, as we headed back to the bridge approaches, there it was again, rolling through the Golden Gate. Fog once more. By now, it was almost 11:40, and I knew the first cars should be back in town, approaching Polk and Hay Streets for the finish. But I didn't know that because of the rain and fog, all the officials were worried as the cars rolled back in just seconds under the time limit, some just missing being disqualified. It really was more exciting than the start, with every driver anxiously watching the pumps to see how little gasoline had been used, because even a few ounces could mean the difference between a winner and a loser. Then, with all the cars back, we trooped off to the victory luncheon and the announcements of the scores and the awarding of the trophies. Contestants sat with their friends and observers, while upstairs, computing machines clicked away, auditing the scores down to the last decimal point. If you go in for suspense, then this you would have loved. Talk about dismal luck. While we sat there simply dying to know how we had made out, Mr. Simpson, who had brought the trophies, awarded them first to the other 4 schools. But then it happened. Peninsula Union High, starting with our boy who'd been 3rd best. Think he wasn't tickled? Get a load of that wall-to-wall smile. Then Al Larson, who'd been 2nd. And finally, with all of us biting our nails, first place to unbelieving Jimmy Cushman. Then the big news, the school with the best team score, Peninsula High. They made me go up and accept the trophy. And then we all made tracks inside to see the huge piece of paper on which everyone's score was written. After all the boasting I'd done about doing better than Tay, I was popping my buttons till I found out if I had. Where was my name? There, Sharon King, 8th place. But where was Tay Stevens? How had he done? Uh-oh. Tay Stevens screamed himself into 14th place. That night, before they picked up Sally and Maureen, Jimmy, Mike, and Tay came by our house. Jimmy had talked to Mr. Potter, who admitted he was convinced. But we didn't know yet if my dad had relented and would let me go out at night in the kids' cars. But not only had he relented, he almost shook Jimmy's arm off, kidded Tay about his bad showing, and then said it was okay. I could even use his car myself at night. So, after all the work and discouragement, we had proved something to Mr. Potter, to my father, and to anyone who reads the newspaper. Good old safety economy run.